Howdy, howdy, and welcome to My Bloody Judy with your final forgets, myself, Zachary Patton Garcia.
And Ian Carlos Crawford.
Yeah, this is our, you can't see us right now. This is our first ever, just audio-only podcast episode, I guess. So,
But we can see each other.
But it's the holiday season, everybody, so we figured we'd do a couple holiday movies. I'm pretty sure they're all Christmas-themed, though. We don't have any Hanukkah. Should have did like something, a killer with a menorah or something.
I did see, like, in researching what there is, like an anthology horror movie where it's like they're all themed around different holidays. Really? I was like, oh, that's interesting. Of course I don't remember, okay, but it was like one of those lists on one of those websites where you just click through and it shows you movie posters, and it was like all the different, and there was like 25 of them.
Yeah, well, that would have been cool. And then some of the movies that we're doing this month, they have really cool ties to other movies, and we'll kind of talk about that a little bit later. But then at the end of the month, we're going to be doing Freaky, and we'll have a video episode for that one, and a little surprise in store on that one, so I'm excited about it. But today, we are going to be covering, what are we covering today, Ian?
We're talking about Krampus today.
Krampus.
I was just about to say, can you tell me what it is, Zach?
Krampus.
When you say it that way, it sounds like you're doing an impression of me.
No, that's the way I have to think about it. For some fucking reason, I can't say this shit. Okay, but yeah, we're gonna be doing. It just in my head automatically says Krampus, but I'm gonna try to get it right. So by the end of this episode, I'll hopefully have it right. We're gonna be doing Krampus today.
Very good.
Very good horror movie to watch. Like, I feel like there's a small little arsenal of holiday horror films, and this fits nicely in there.
Yeah, I think I've watched this movie every Christmas the last, 3 years.
Yeah, what year did it come out? I probably should have wrote that down. I don't know, it was 13?
I think 2014 or 15.
Yeah. So it's been out a good bit already. And I'm pretty sure I watch it every year also.
Yeah, 2015.
Mm-hmm. It was directed by Michael Doherty, who also did Trick or Treat, which is another classic, holiday film for Halloween. So I thought that was really cool. And then in Black Christmas, Bob Clark did A Christmas Story.
Which is so wild.
It is. Like, you stick with what you know.
Yeah.
But do you think okay, so this is totally wrong movie, but do you think Bob Clark has a thing with eyes? Because you'll shoot your eye out, and then everybody gets stabbed in the eye with, ice picks and stuff. Yeah, he's got a little fetish there.
I mean, a Christmas and an eye fetish.
It's also starring Adam Scott and Toni Collette, plus a slew of other stars, but,
the cast is pretty well stacked in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone, including, the little kid, are, really good.
Yeah. What did you think, or overall thoughts, what did you think?
So I saw this movie when I was living in New York. After we watched it together, I had texted this couple that I'm friends with. And I was like, didn't we see it? They're like, yeah, we did. I loved it. I loved it the first time I saw it. I still love it every time. It's a movie that I like that. I mean, I think this movie is our Venn diagram of overlap of horror, because it definitely is could be an episode of Buffy without Buffy.
Yeah.
It doesn't take itself too seriously, so it's not too upsetting when the family's members are getting eaten by these monsters, because it's not, I don't know, you don't take it too seriously. But then the tier of acting they have is what bumps it. I think if they had lesser actors, the movie would have been too silly. But I think it just really works. All of the pieces come together to make this really fun horror movie.
I think so too. I agree. I mean, it's not a perfect movie, but it is a great just holiday horror movie. It's kind of dark for the it's a horror comedy, but it's still really dark, I think. I love the casting, love the atmosphere. It kind of just, the whole thing just almost feels like a fever dream. I feel like every time I watch it, I forget so many elements to it. When they go to the boyfriend's house, I completely forgot all that. I didn't even remember any of that.
Yeah.
So it's fun to sort of rediscover a little bit more of it every time. Do you remember, Ian, when you first, we don't have any young listeners. Do you remember when you first stopped believing in Santa?
Actually, I had that story in here in my notes that I didn't tell you when we watched. So, hold on. Now I need to find because I was like, ooh, tell Zachary this story because he will like it.
Yeah, I figured we can kill the Christmas spirit a little bit. It goes along with the theme.
So I never quite believed in Santa as a kid. And my parents were very bad at like little kid things. And I remember my mom and I were like Christmas shopping. I don't remember how old I was, but we went to like 2 different malls in the same day. And I was like, okay, Mom, I know Santa isn't real because he can't be at both malls at the same time. And my mom was like, well, you're right. So then so I know that it was before first grade because one of the like mean girls in first grade was making fun of me and it was Christmas time. And I told her,
shit, I already know.
Well, you know what? Santa Claus isn't real.
You're a little asshole. You.
And I remember we were like
painting his nails.
We were like standing in line waiting for something and her just being like, what? And like looking around and me being like, I got you.
No, I remember there was a kid like that in my elementary school, and I was so adamant about a fucking Santa Claus that I even was like, you don't even know. I left a disposable camera and asked him to take a picture, and he did. And I have a picture of him. I would bring it to class. I said I can't because he told me not to show anybody else. Meanwhile, I did leave a disposable camera every fucking Christmas. With a note asking him to take a picture of himself, and I always got a note back, sorry, can't do that, or something like that. I was always disappointed.
That's really cute, though.
No, it was pretty late that I stopped believing in Santa. I probably was too old to be, believing in Santa, but I was in the car with my mom, and we were going to buy Christmas presents, and she was on the phone. She got on the phone with somebody, and she's like, they asked what she was doing, and she's like, we're going to buy Santa presents. It's like... like, what the fuck, mother? Oh, yeah, that's my mom for you. It's like, yeah, you would have figured it out. So
you're like, excuse me, what presents?
Let's talk about the opening to this movie. It's so great, isn't it? Just poking fun at the typical like Christmas consumerism chaos.
Let me tell you. So it's they like, I love things I love that all fit in. I love a slow motion movie moment while like a happy song plays. I love a chaos moment while like a happy song plays, and this like brings together both those. And because I work retail, I hear Christmas music all fucking day long, and every time I hear it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, I think of this opening, which feels like on the nose being at my retail job, hearing that song, thinking of this opening.
Yeah, I could see you at a Barnes & Noble being tripped over by a bunch of old guys going for the next Donald Trump book.
Yep.
Okay, so let's go through the characters really quick, just because I feel like there's a lot of them and they're all kind of central to the movie. So we have Sarah and her husband Tom and their kids, Max and Beth, and Max's mother, is it Omi?
Omi.
Okay. She's German. And then we have Sarah's sister and her family. So Linda, her husband Howard, their kids Howie Jr., Stevie, Jordan, baby Chrissy, and then Sarah and Linda's aunt Dorothy. And these are our characters for the movie.
I have hosted a podcast for nearly 3 years, and whenever we do this, I'm like, God, I am not together, because you have like every character, and I'm like, I don't know, Adam Scott's handsome, he's the dad. Just
Slayerfest 98. Don't listen, guys. It's chaos. It's chaos. Everybody already seems stressed out from the outset of right. This movie. Toni Collette's character, Sarah, love Toni Collette. She belongs in every horror movie ever. Her character, Sarah, is like preparing to have her sister's family over for Christmas, and she makes a really nice holiday meal and is going like all out for decorations and gifts. And her family is definitely like upper middle class, and we see some of the the film seems to poke fun at both the upper middle class and the lower class. So we have little stereotypical things, and like upper middle class, they're definitely buying into the ridiculousness of like holiday consumerism and, making sure everything appears perfect, even though maybe in their lives everything ain't perfect. And her lower class family, her sister's from a lower class family. They live in a trailer. They wrap their gifts with newspaper. They kind of make fun of everything that Sarah's doing, and it's a really cool kind of dynamic that we get between all of these different people from these sorts of different walks of life, all in the same house.
They bring the aunt for dinner, which is a surprise.
Yeah.
And she's like that woman that's been in everything that passed away recently.
Yeah.
And I really like her. I like that she goes for the eggnog immediately. I also like, I always like a character that's kind of like mean, but also like kind of saying what we're all like. She's kind of the one being like, everyone's annoying. Like, you people kind of suck. And I always kind of like that character, even if they're unlikable.
I feel like if you're going through something like this, you're gonna drink as much as you can, right? And so that's what she's gonna do. She's just gonna drink.
I mean, right? Like, what the hell else are you gonna do?
Yeah. Do you relate with her in this movie?
And Adam Scott and his son have an argument, and the boy says something like, what is it? Oh, why do we have to put up with their crap just because we share DNA? Which is what Max says, but also is me about my family.
Anytime Ian's family is all together, this is this movie.
These are the texts Zachary gets.
You're like, I think Krampus is on the roof, Zach.
I'm like, I hope
think he's
is.
here. I've
Right.
been ripping up letters like crazy, and he's not here yet. He's intentionally losing the Christmas spirit. So during this fabulous dinner that everybody's making fun of, Sarah for, putting together those little bastards, Max's cousins, Stevie and Jordan, they steal his letter to Santa and they read it out loud and, kind of embarrass him. And in the letter, Max basically lists out his well wishes for everybody. It's such a sweet letter. Like, he's at the same time listing out everybody's flaws. If you ever seen Harriet the Spy, he's just calling everybody out. And then his parents, they're not happy together and he wants them to be happy together. And he even mentions that that Howard wishes that Stevie and Jordan were boys.
Yeah.
So I thought that was fucking hilarious. I love that every single time. But yeah, it embarrasses him because they read the letter out in front of everybody and it makes everybody uncomfortable and uneasy, but it lays out all of the problems that we have and all of the sort of undertones of this holiday season. But Max gets upset and tears up the letter and throws it into the wind. And what are you not supposed to do, Ian, in this movie?
You're not supposed to tear up a letter and throw it into the wind, I guess?
You don't lose your Christmas spirit.
Okay, but also, I call bullshit on that because,
Okay.
no one backed him up. The family, didn't do shit while these kids were, terrorizing him. He's allowed to get, a little upset. He's a child. I would get upset. I'm an adult.
But because Max tears up this letter, a blizzard rolls in. And the night, or I think it's like the day before, right? Yeah.
I think it's the 23rd.
This is a couple different days, right? It goes over a couple different days.
Because I think the peak, the finale of the movie takes place on Christmas, I think.
Okay, yeah. No, you're right. And for some fucking reason, Sarah and Tom decide that it's okay for their daughter to go walk in a blizzard to see her boyfriend. I mean, I get that he's down the street, but
I mean, it is
judgment.
It is it's supposed to be only a few houses away, realistically. Yeah. And realistically, okay, snow, that's fine. You can walk a few houses in the snow. But yeah, she goes to die, and she does. Which is wild.
She's the first one. That
the teen daughter, who's she's the only nice one, because she's nice to her brother and tries to and she's there's nothing, she's the one that's not really doing anything wrong, and she's the first one to die.
It's a little bit boring though. So right. I don't mind it. Were you surprised she died first?
When you first watched totally. Because I remember going out and being I think when I watched it first, I thought this is where we'll see the monsters, and then no one's gonna believe her that they're there.
Yeah, I mean, she sees Krampus, right? Yeah. On the roof, yeah. So
it's a really cool visual. It's how we don't see him, but he's just a shadow.
Yeah.
And I feel that effect really works of it's this big shadow, but then he moves so quickly.
That's what freaked me out.
I think it's even though the movie isn't scary, that's a genuinely creepy, especially when you don't know yet everything. And this is our first character to encounter anything who also dies. It's kind of pretty thrilling, right? I would die. I would definitely be the daughter who's
I would be. I feel you wouldn't even run, Ian. I've told Ian to go run outside, and he says no. He'd just stand there. I'm not scared of the Jack in the Box. Yeah, I think I was more scared of Krampus than I was the Jack in the Box, though.
Well, I mean, for me, shit like that works because it's ooh, what is it gonna be? And we don't really see it. It's just for me, I liked that. I like, that's where the movie, that would be my one thing is once we start seeing the monsters, it's not really scary, but that's fine. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But the buildup of not knowing always scares me, and not, I mean, I don't know that scare, but it's like more thrilling, right?
Yeah, it's pretty spooky. All of the visuals and like the monsters in this are, I think, are pretty well done. And then she like runs and sees the delivery man. Like, I guess his truck had been stopped and he's like frozen in fear or something like that. She hides under the truck and then like a jack of the box gets her. So after that, Tom and Howard, is it Tom and Howard go out to look for her?
Okay, wait, but I want to pause on this because I want to talk about the delivery man and like what that says about what's going on.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I still go back and forth whether it's like they've all been transported to the snow globe already, the like snow globe universe or whatever, or if it's like Krampus is like literally just like picking off the families in this neighborhood one by one, and then the delivery man was just like oops, he was there, so he got killed too.
I have these big questions for the movie and like what it's supposed to be like, because I guess the whole thing is really just a modern retelling of this Krampus tale, right?
Right.
But yeah, like you, are they already in the snow globe, or I thought when we were watching it, and I remember telling you that maybe they were in their own like little parallel universe. But then they go to the boyfriend's house while Tom and Howard go out looking for Beth. They come across Beth's boyfriend's house and they go inside, and everything that's going to happen to this family we see inside this house. Yeah. Like the house looks exactly like this family's house is going to look. And so it happened to them, but did it happen in a parallel universe? And if it did, then why is it in theirs?
Right.
It's very, very confusing.
Because it does feel a little Silent Hill where it's like,
yeah,
this is like the universe where they're all dead, but like, yeah, why is the gingerbread man still stabbed on the refrigerator then? And like, why did the delivery man die? Like, delivery man brought them a package, so.
And if it's just,
I think it's that they're not in the snow globe till they're dead, and I think that he was killing the whole neighborhood. So
then what is the extent of all of this? Is it just that street, or is it beyond that street?
I think because the beginning is showing us that everyone is terrible, I would say it's like the town. And like maybe the little boy throwing out the letter was like the last straw.
Maybe. He fucked everybody over, this shitty little kid.
Even though he had every right to. I would have done the same shit.
Every little tear in that letter is a person that goes to hell.
So when Krampus comes for us, it's my fault.
Well, Tom and Howard, as they're out looking for Beth, they get attacked by some like underground snow demon or whatever. I don't even think we ever see that, what that looks like. But they both do escape. You would think that I thought Howard was going to be like a goner.
Yeah.
And I was surprised that he made it at that moment.
I said this when we were watching it. The scene when Howard, like, because you hear it crunching.
Yeah.
And I was positive we were going to get like the horror thing of like, Adam Scott pulls him up and like his legs are missing.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much what I thought. But no, they get away, and like I think the thing just bites him in the leg, and they make it back to the house, and everybody boards up the windows and doors and camps out in the living room. I gotta say, we a few years ago, we had a really, really bad ice storm roll through, and all the power went out and everything. But we were at my parents' house, and they had a fireplace, so everybody camped out in the living room, and it was exactly like this, and I was like very comfortable. It was a very nice time. So this is very nice. They could have just sat in the living room, had some nice hot chocolate. But that night, the Howie Jr. is the one that goes first, right? Yeah.
The boy, yeah.
Yeah, that night. So everybody's asleep, and I guess they were supposed to keep the fires going, and nobody stayed awake to do it. Yeah. And so like a gingerbread on a hook comes down, and the gingerbread's like tempting Howie, and Howie, it's the typical like fat kid trope is what they're doing here. I don't know how PC that would go over in 2020, but we have it here. He wakes up at the smell of a gingerbread man, and he gets up and he's tempted, and he goes and has a piece, and gets sucked up into the chimney while everybody's trying to pull him back down. But
Toni Collette is the only one that she like jumps into action like right
away. And really, like, doesn't he have two parents sitting right there? And Toni Collette tries it because she's a badass, but to no avail, and they lose him, and everybody at that moment is like, what the fuck, like I think that's the only real moment of like kind of real shock on everybody's
Yeah.
in anybody's face when you see Tony Collette kind of back up into anything, because all this stuff is happening and everybody kind of like, I get that it's a horror comedy, but I still would look for some of those real reactions, and the movie is kind of lacking a few of those. Like, these are children and stuff being eaten. Like, your daughter Beth is gone, but like but nobody really seems to react how I feel people would react in real life.
I don't know. I don't know that I agree with that. I feel like they're like, because when you're in shock, it's like you don't have, if you're like, if something happens but things are still happening,
Yeah.
it's like you don't have a moment to react, and they really don't have like a moment of peace. And I think, I feel like with the daughter, yeah, I would agree, but like, I feel like it's like you could say that they're telling themselves she's not actually dead, even though we know she's dead. They don't know for a fact that she's dead.
They left her overnight in a blizzard. I'd be out there. Sorry, my fucking dog goes out in a blizzard and I'd be out there. They do have an English bulldog in this, so we're just going to call the bulldog Winnie.
That is Zach's dog's name.
Yeah, oh, she's so beautiful. But yeah, so everybody's freaked out now, and Omi, who's been like bopping around this whole movie, and we know something's up because every time it shows her face, she knows something. Now she decides to tell everybody about Krampus.
Why can't you say it?
I don't fucking know, man.
We get the grandma's backstory of Krampus, and it's very Coraline style animation. I'm not normally a fan of like something that's such a big break, but I think it works here because it's a Christmas movie. What do you think about that?
I liked it. You know, I'm not a huge fan of flashback scenes anyway. I think it's very easy to fuck those up and them to kind of just like slow down the story. But I think it really did work here because, like you said, it's a Christmas movie. You kind of have, I don't know, that little moment of like, we know something's up with the grandma, and it was nice to see her.
And it wasn't too long.
Where Shorter came from. It wasn't long. It must have been just like a minute or so.
And I think maybe that's why it works too, because it doesn't take up too much room in the movie. It's like kind of like, yep, this happened. Here's the bell. It sucked, and like we're moving on.
I thought the animation worked really well. I like that sort of animation. You're not a huge fan of like things like Coraline and stuff like that, are you?
No,
Yeah.
I like Coraline. I do like Coraline, but like, which is like against my Hot Topic brand, but I don't like Nightmare Before Christmas.
Is Coraline against a Hot Topic brand? Isn't that like at Hot Topic?
No.
I remember seeing like tons of those. Oh,
Zachary.
wait. No, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Nightmare Before Christmas part.
Yeah. Well.
I mean, to keep it on brand so no one gets too upset, I love Fall Out Boy's cover of The Nightmare Before Christmas. So.
I know what I'll be getting Ian for Christmas. A bunch of Nightmare Before Christmas shit. Couple of Hot Topic t-shirts.
But yeah, I like, I don't know, like you said, we get a backstory for the grandma. I kind of like it. It's not like 100% needed, but I do think it adds to the story. And it makes sense later for when the grandma like kind of saves him and faces him herself and kind of is like brave about it.
Well, I think what's needed in the movie is somebody explaining what Krampus is.
Right.
And that was always going to be her role to do. And she could have either done it just sitting in front of the fire or with, this little animation there. And I think the animation just added that little touch.
Yeah.
So it was nice. Krampus is basically the anti-Saint Nicholas. So when she was a little girl in Germany, she lost her Christmas spirit and Krampus came and they don't make it clear here either. Did he take the whole town or just her parents?
I think it is the whole town that she says, I think.
Okay. Yeah, we'll go with that. We're going to go with whole town. So Krampus takes the whole town and leaves her with like a little jingle bell. I don't know how she made it out of that situation, but she did. She made it to America. This is basically what's happening here. And I think in this movie, Krampus is anybody who loses their Christmas spirit. That's who he goes after. Yeah. But I think in the actual folklore, I don't know if it's a German folklore or if it's just a European folklore, but Krampus just goes for bad children. So if you're on the naughty list, then you don't get Saint Nicholas, you get Krampus.
I learned about Krampus from The Office, because Dwight dresses as him. Yeah.
See, I don't watch The Office. At this point, all hell is breaking loose. Earlier, like the delivery man that the daughter saw, he brought like a bag of gifts to the house, and it's just been sitting there. I guess nobody's decided to look into it or anything like that, but it's filled with a bunch of monstrous toys and other seasonal items. But there's a bunch of like killer gingerbread men in there, a Jack-in-the-Box who eats children, and the most terrifying fucking angel on top of a star. That shit is scary. Seth Green plays one of these voices, but I never heard him. I was listening really hard for him.
Yeah, I looked at the credits before we recorded, and I was like, wait, Seth Green voices Lumpy? Which monster is Lumpy? It has to be one of the Gingerbread Men, I feel like. Right?
I feel like Lumpy needed a little bit more character development so we could figure out who he was.
Also, I like that you and I both kept saying, this could be from Hereditary, because there were so many shots of, like, Toni Collette in a living room freaking out.
It felt like it. It felt like fucking Hereditary. Their family was even set up the same. They had a wife and a husband, 2 kids, boy and girl, and then they had a grandma.
That's true. That's true.
And then they go to the attic. Like, I want to call, every time we're talking about Toni Collette in this movie, I have to remember her name is Sarah and not Annie, because I keep wanting to say Annie. This is all action stuff. I don't think anything in here is really freaky except for the angel. Did you think any of these were freaky?
No, I mean, for me, it's more like thrilling, though, because it's like, oh, I don't want these people to die. They're probably going to die, and then they all do. Like, that's like...
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. Like, I feel like that's like a valid form of horror when it's like, it's thrilling, but they're monsters attacking them, so that makes it... Yeah. It's not just like... action.
Well, the Jack-in-the-Box just eats children, apparently. Right. He's like eating up all the children. I mean, I guess that should be freaky, but I'm not very paternal. I don't really like kids, so I don't care. I have more of a problem when he eats up the dog a little bit later.
I feel like I have a problem when he eats up the dog and poor Max, just because I really feel bad for Max.
Yeah.
When Max is thrown in the pit, I'm like,
Eat
no.
Max. Eat Max. He can go a little earlier. I do like Max. I think the actor's pretty good. I was surprised he wasn't in that much because this was like 5 years ago, so he's like 17, 18 years old now.
Yeah, because when you looked at his IMDb, I was like, wait, who is this? And because he's clearly now actual, like, teenager.
Yeah, but I mean, Toni Collette, she gets the beating in this one. Like, she gets, like, the angel, like, wraps, like, something around her neck and, like, hangs her.
Yeah.
And she's hanging for a long time before anybody even comes around to help her. Toni Collette's saving up everybody else's kids, but
right,
fucking helps her.
The build-up to the scene, I think, is really good. I think the build-up of they're going in the attic because the kids were going to the bathroom, right? And then they heard the noise. And then the grumpy aunt is downstairs with the other kid, like the baby.
Yeah.
And the other grandma. And I think, for me, the tension is there. And I really like, especially like, I don't know, it's a good horror movie with chaos breaking out. Like, the monsters are all there. They're all getting attacked. Allison Tolman, who plays the aunt, is like one of those actors that I always find really likable. And I was like glad she kind of got to like shine. Like, she's the one that saves Adam Scott and Toni Collette.
What was her name again? Hold on, we're all going to take a moment just to recognize and say, good job, Ian, that he remembered a name. What was her name again?
It's the actor's name, though.
Yes, but you know it.
Fuck off. I know an actor's name. I don't remember a character. Ask me what her name is in the movie. I don't know. Aunt Bev, Aunt Sue.
What's Linda's name?
Who the hell's Linda?
Sarah's sister.
See, there you go. So Allison Tolman, who plays Linda, I was really happy to see that she got the moment of like, well, the thing got my kid, but I need to save my sister and my brother-in-law. So she like gets up, she cuts down the like cord that Toni Collette's hanging from, and she like swats the robot that's stabbing Adam Scott. And it's like a nice moment of like, okay, we're getting shit done and we're going to do it. Because I really like Allison Tolman. She was in season 1 of Fargo, and I thought she played like a really likable character that felt like realistic. I don't know. She's like I like her. She's a good actor.
Yeah, I haven't seen Fargo.
It's the only, I think there's like a couple seasons, and every season takes place in a different like year.
There's a movie too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen something. But I really liked in the attic because she's kind of a passive character throughout the movie. Like she doesn't really do anything. She doesn't even try to help her own kid until this attic scene. Cause she's clearly got favorites. Nobody gave a fuck about poor Howie.
Well, what's the care about?
But yeah, no, she gets her balls up in the attic and she gets shit done.
And I always love a scene of like someone who's like the quieter one being like, all right, we're going to fucking do this. And like, yeah, I don't know. I like that.
So everybody's fighting for their lives, and the Jack-in-the-Box basically eats Jordan and the dog. Poor dog. the elves come through the window and they capture Aunt Dorothy downstairs, Howard, and baby Chrissy. I feel like baby Chrissy was a character that didn't even really need to be in the movie because, like, why?
Well,
And she
I
didn't
mean,
raise any stakes or anything.
yeah, but I like the idea of like a baby getting taken because like that's not something you normally would see. And the aunt gets the shotgun and shoots the angel, and I really like I like that too. Like the great aunt, the grumpy aunt Conchetta Ferrell, she's like just shooting with the shotgun. And I even like that when they get the aunt, she's just like, well, and she literally says, "See you all in hell," and then they pull her out through the window.
Oh, I love Conchetta Ferrell. She passed this year, right?
Yeah, yeah.
She's
Like,
been in, she was in like everything. So
oh yeah.
I'm a very scholarly guy, very smart. Went to college and everything. I've not seen Fargo, but I have seen Mr. Deeds, and she was amazing in Mr. Deeds.
Well,
Have you seen Mr. Deeds, Ian?
I have not seen Mr. Deeds, but I have seen Who Be Halloween. So like I think I'm good.
But I could have seen her being in the. I could have seen her in that movie. I'm surprised she wasn't. I mean,
the like thing I know her most for is 2.5 Men, which isn't a show I like, but my parents watched it all the time, so.
I didn't like that show. Didn't the kid in that show? Oh, off topic. That kid in that show went like super Jesus on everybody, right? It's like fuck 2.5 Men.
Yeah, that show was like it must have been a nightmare to work on.
Yeah, the elves come in and basically capture up almost everybody, and everybody who's left decides to make a break for it. The house is in shambles at this point. Everything you saw in the boyfriend's house, like,
Happened, yeah.
is the same as how this house looks right now. Gingerbread, like nailed to the fridge. Fireplace all fucked up, all of that. And then, so the survivors decide to make a break for it, except Omi, who decides to stay behind and face Krampus. And so she locks everybody out of the house. And this doesn't do anything to help. It doesn't help at all.
Okay, yeah, that's my issue, is that I wish it helped, because it doesn't.
Yeah.
Like, her staying there it did nothing. Like, right? Like, did literally nothing.
Yeah.
And I wish there would have been, like, I don't know, something where it's like at least she hurts Krampus a little bit, so like we could like validate it by being like, oh well, she hurt him, so it slowed him down or something. But she doesn't. There's like nothing. She just. I mean, I get it. She's a little old lady. What's she gonna do? But
there's no payoff. Okay, so maybe in defense of it, let's play devil's advocate for a second. It does buy them a little bit of time, and maybe she thought that since she was one of the surviving children who survived Krampus at one time, that she would present herself and maybe get away with it. It was like a glimmer of hope. But see, all these little glimmers of hope in this movie are completely like just snuffed out. So the dog going into the wall, we think the dog's gonna be the hero of the movie and take out that Jack in the Box thing. Dog gets eaten, so they're snuffed out there. The grandma stays behind and she's gonna face Krampus for some reason, and then that gets snuffed out as well. So everybody's on the fucking run, and it's clear that everybody's probably gonna die.
yeah, I think I will say I think this is when the movie. I mean, I think it's because of the actors, but it does take like a little bit of like an emotional turn, because it's like, oh shit, like this is when you're kind of like, they all are gonna die, aren't they?
Yeah.
And like, what? You're making a face. What?
No, I'm listening.
It's your listening face. I get a little emotional when the grandma's like, be good, and slams the door and the little boy's screaming, and like, it's like a little emotional. And then when Toni Collette gets, like, when they get her, it's like, oh god.
Yeah.
Just because it's like, you're kind of like, oh, they're not making it out of this. And the bleakness, I will say the tone shifts a little bit from silly to like completely bleak.
Yeah. I think that is. I mean, that's even represented in the visuals. We have these lights for most of the movie, and then it's completely dark here now.
Yeah.
Like everything's dark and very cold, and it feels like that in the plotting as well. So everybody's on the run. They're all trying to make it to this delivery van to try to get away, and everybody one by one is being dragged under the snow. And it was. I mean, yeah, there's like no help, and then it's just Max and Stevie who make it into the truck. Toni Collette gets like dragged down right before, Max. He sees everybody just die basically, and then elves come and attack the truck and take Stevie as well, leave Max, and so Max like wanders, back to his house and he stumbles upon Krampus and all of his little minions and stuff in this big like portal to hell. and they throw Stevie down it, and Max is like pleading for everybody to come back, for Krampus to let everybody go. And Krampus just gives them a little bell, and Max is like, "No, give them back." And Krampus is like, "Okay." Like, what do you want me to do about this? Everybody's in hell right now. So
I feel bad for Max. I will. The animatronics also, you complimented them earlier, and I don't know. I think
close up, they don't work. They don't work close up.
I think it's on purpose though, because I think it's like going for like an old school look.
Yeah.
But it looks like a Spirit Halloween like animatronic, like that's what it looks like. And I don't know. They maybe could have benefited from like, because like his face don't move. Like Krampus is just like a little tongue blurbing around, and it's like his face swaying back and forth.
I did notice something with that. I think that is a mask that he's wearing, because when you see this could just be like makeup effects failing, but you see like an eye hole cut out into the mask, and so I think that maybe it's supposed to be like a mask of like Saint Nicholas or something. Some sort of distorted Saint Nicholas. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look at it. I think that might have been intentional. I don't know yet. Okay, bye, guys. But yeah, Max pleads for everybody to be let go, and Krampus just picks him up and tosses him down into hell too.
Krampus is like, peace, motherfucker.
I don't have time for this. Do you know how many neighborhoods I have to go to tonight? It's a lot, okay? So, everybody dies, and then the movie's over. Credits.
Well, so then we get the weird like
this. I hate this part. I really don't like this. I don't like the ending.
What? Why?
I'm not a fan of it. I think it would have been better just ending with him going to hell. But go ahead. What's the ending, Ian?
No, I don't think that would have been a good ending because it feels like incomplete. I like, but I don't like. I don't know. Half of me is like, I would have been fine if it was like. So you're gonna hate this because I normally hate this, but I kind of would have been okay if Max woke up and it was a dream. Like I would have been okay with that.
I'm like 50-50 there, because I think with holiday films you get a little bit more of like a pass doing things like that, and like doing little cheesy, feel good things.
Because I don't normally like that in a movie.
Yeah,
normally I would be
I
very
think a
against
holiday
that.
movie always gets a little bit of a pass with that. I always like a darker ending, so I like that it ended dark. But Max wakes up Christmas morning, he goes downstairs, and everybody is happy. The house is intact, everything's warm. They even put like the Hallmark Christmas movie filter over everybody, and their skin's all glowing, and they're opening presents, and Omi gives, or I think it is Omi who gives Max the box, right? Somebody gives Max a Christmas box, and he opens it, and it's the Krampus bell. And so everybody looks down at the bell, and immediately, nobody even communicates with each other. They immediately just, all their faces drop, like in unison. And they know something's up. They remember everything that happened, and we zoom out, and their house is in a snow globe. But then this is like weird, because if it's the whole town, does everybody get a snow globe, or is it just...
Yes, okay. That I will say, I feel like every household gets their own snow globe. Because there was a bunch of them.
Well, I mean, if everybody just like jumps a couple times, maybe the snow globe will fall off the shelf.
And they'll die.
Or they'll live, we don't know. But basically, they're all trapped in hell. And Krampus is hell.
Yep.
So that's how the movie ends.
That's my life in New Jersey, trapped in hell,
Are you in a snow globe, Ian?
I think I am.
You stuck? You could be. I've never seen you leave the room or the basement. I've only ever seen you in the bedroom and the basement, so you could be in one.
Could be.
Yeah. I do like this movie, though. I like it. I think there's a lot of, like, roll your eyes moments and stuff like that, but it's a cheesy, little holiday film, and I think it's one of the better ones.
But I do think the camp and cheesy moments are definitely like on purpose throwback.
Yeah.
Horror stuff. So that's why
like,
I like it.
It's like satire. Like the movie doesn't take itself too seriously.
And that's the only way this movie would work. I think there's not a way in which a super serious Krampus horror movie would ever.
Oh,
work.
for sure. I agree. I like it. I'm very, very, very much like it.
And I'm glad I got to watch my yearly Christmas movie with you, Zachary.
I know. We watched a bunch of them, so we're going to be covering. I think this is the first one. We're going to be covering Black Christmas, the 1974 and 2006. We're going to say fuck you to the 2019 one. And then we'll be doing Freaky at the end of the month. So stay tuned for those. I hope everybody's having a nice December. I don't know. What's going on?
I was like, I'm not.
Is there anything to promote? Where can everybody find you, Ian?
You can find me on social media at ENXCarlos. If you want to find my Buffy podcast, you can find SlayerFest98 at SlayerFestX98 on social media, and SlayerFest98 on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. Zachary, where can everyone find you?
Everybody can find me on YouTube and Instagram at Adventures of Zach and B, and Twitter Adventures Z and B. Much more active on Twitter, so come say hey. Well, that was this, I guess. Another podcast with Ian.
You're stuck with me forever, so fuck off.
I know. I kind of dropped my notes here because my notes kind of just end abruptly, and now I'm like, I didn't know how to end. Okay, well, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.